just pop you in the corner there. Sweet. And I'll leave. I got a little bit of a comment last time that I kind of openly said a counter pick while the championship was happening, and while after in the post game interview that they were already planning to pick it. I'll leave the counter picks, the counter pick talk until after most of the things have been talked about. Let me just chuck some of that sound on.
That's it. We do not want to be the sixth man for these teams, you know, free coaching lessons. We're going to have to charge these guys on Patreon. Daedric Juice, they just set one up.
I think I prefer an OnlyFans over a Patreon.
That's it. And we do see normal bans here. So we
Yeah,
see Bubble
yeah.
Boy banned out on the Graves. Bubble Boy again, the carry jungler going 13-1 the last game. So some normal bans, no crazy bans like Timo
yeah.
or Ivan.
Nothing crazy yet. Maybe forcing them off their normal picks to see if people will start picking anything crazy. So I'm quite interested. And the Vel'Koz ban as well.
The Vel'Koz as well. And like we said, you know, first seed versus last seed, Tyler2, you know, losing all of their games here in this tournament so far. They have something to prove, and they're going all out, banning these high priority picks over on the Minecraft Dabbers. And I gotta say, if they do pull out a win here, that's saying something for these guys.
It sure will be. And I see we've got the Scion being hovered. I do quite like Scion. He's certainly he's not super meta currently, but he does fit in fairly well with a couple different incomes. There's actually, they switch over to the Nautilus lock-in, putting the priority on the blue pick. It's just very fair. When you're on blue side in drafting, you definitely want to use that first pick as a way to lock in that really strong pick that you're confident in.
And we have the Lovers Duo being picked over on the side of the Minecraft Dabbers. So we're going to see how that rolls out. Xayah did get buffed last patch with 5% more damage with multiple feather hits. So we'll see that in action today.
Yeah, hopefully we will. And as you can see, the Warwick locked in here. So we can see that both teams are looking at quite an engagey sort of comp. It'll be interesting to see if they try to style all their champions towards it, or if they go for something more defensive like Kayle. Interesting. Okay. So Kayle does neutralize the Xayah Rakan at points. It stops them from being able to instantly burst off one person near the late game. But the only problem is that Kayle will sometimes find it hard to follow up on engages, especially in the mid game when she's still scaling.
Yeah, and we have seen God Kales in the tournament. Sasuke did play him in the top lane one of our previous games and carried hard on that Kel. So we're going to see here if that does something in the mid lane. Ethan Gatch not doing too well in the mid lane in previous games, but with the Kel with more protection there and the Warwick ganks, we might see something done there.
And it may even be in top lane as well. We're not too sure where we put, which is one of the strengths of Kayle, is the ability to be flexed, so it can be moved as a count. If they get counterpicked in the top lane, they can move it to mid and whatnot. As we see the Gnar locked in actually, so trying to challenge almost the enemy top laner with a lock and a strong top laner. So one would expect that they would leave their strongest pick to last on R5, whether they think that's their mid lane or their jungler. As we see, we've got a Misfortune ban, an Olaf ban, and now a Lux ban.
Lux ban seemingly coming out of nowhere. We did see a few plays here in the tournament, but not too much pressure played on that Lux, so interesting. But the Veigar is being banned as per usual against the Dabbers.
Yeah, and I'd almost say if they're quite confident Kayle being mid, or if they're quite confident in the radio coming from elsewhere, I feel like banning the Veigar would almost be a self-counter pick at points if they felt comfortable taking it in the mid lane, because the Veigar certainly does neutralize a lot of what red side wants to do with their comp, but so does Kayle, so maybe they just want to leave it with Kayle and see what else they can do. Now see the Pantheon lock-in, and the hover on Cho'Gath.
This Cho'Gath could be played top lane. There it is. Cho'Gath versus
locked in.
Gnar. I'm not sure how that matchup goes. How does that go, Daedric?
It's in favor of Gnar until he goes Mega, and then it's not in favor.
But we do see a Scion.
And the
so
Scion locked in.
Weird lanes here.
And the Xerath. Okay, so it'll be interesting to see where they put these lane assignments. I believe... I'm actually not entirely sure. And the Xerath in the mid lane, so... I would say almost slightly off theme with the rest of his team. The rest of his team is very one note, go in and go ham, whereas Xerath does want to stay back, so if his entire team engages, it can be a bit bad for him. He might just get ran down by the enemy team if there's no peel.
And I am afraid for this Tyler2 team. You know, you have this pressure from the Pantheon Global. You have this huge poke damage from Xerath that can basically artillery you from half a map away. So a lot of map pressure around that mid lane, and we're going to see how that comes into fruition. But we see the Tyler2 team going very tanky And this Kale's ultimate's really got to mean that they've got to stay around in team fights. So they might actually just win out. If they happen to win all their lanes, these tanks might be too much for Xayah to handle.
Yeah, and it'll be quite interesting to see if she's actually taken, now that they're going to, okay, now I can say it, it'll be very interesting to see if Xayah decides to take Cut Down in her rune instead of Coup de Grace. Because when the game goes into, Warwick will stack a lot of health, Sion will stack a lot of health, Cho'Gath will stack a lot of health, and Norlis, when he pops his Gargoyle Stone Plate, will normally have a lot of health. So it'll be very interesting if they take Cut Down, because it's quite a strong rune when you're facing a lot of health stackers.
Exactly, and then normally as an AD carry, when you're facing against 2-3 tank compositions, you really want to go those press the attack ADCs, things like your Tristanas and your Lucians that go Bork in their build to push that down. But with the Xayah, if you don't bring that cut down and she starts to fall behind, that Cho'Gath is basically going to one-shot her with the ult, and there's nothing the team can really do against that.
Yeah, and she can't really afford to build an armor pen item until at least 4th, but normally 5th item, so it'll be quite interesting. But if her team does get ahead, they do snowball very hard, and if they're ahead in mid-game, they can hunt down people, they can engage incredibly strong, especially if Nah has his rage up. He's very scary. However, if Blue side do play it quite well, they can wait out the Nah, they can see if they can bait Rakan into engaging and then being able to disengage with the Kayle or with the Cho'Gath, because especially if Cho'Gath goes Glacial Augment, he can really deter the rest of the follow-up from Rakan by just hitting that Super Soaker, slowing down the enemy team by a crap ton, and then if they're very, very slow, things like picks like Sion or Warwick can just run down and melt down people.
Yeah, and I'm curious to see what this jungle matchup is going to be like. Bubble Boy really loves invading. He really loves getting early kills and snowballing them into 3, 4, 5, 6 kills out near the river. So if ITT can't really hold that back, we might just see this Pantheon everywhere across the map and just getting kills left, right, and center.
Yeah, which is a little unfortunate for Pantheon that they're facing a Warwick, because Warwick can step up and 1v1 Pantheon. He's one of the few people that can 1v1 Pantheon early. I think it's Warwick, Olaf, Graves, and can't think of many others.
Yep.
I'm sure chat will let me know ones that I've forgotten, but basically, yeah, what Xerath will do will just be to continuously keep that poke down, and Pantheon, Nah, Rakan, Xayah, they'll all be very, very strong, especially if the jungler can just keep that ball rolling. It'll be quite interesting.
Yep, and Lasercake last game did also play Xerath, so not unfamiliar champion for him. So most likely he's just going to poke down at this mid laner, and they're just going to snowball that tower. But we'll see how this game plays out with 20 seconds left as we head into the load screen to see if we have any crazy runes being picked up by either of these teams.
Yeah, I'll be very interested to see if Cho'Gath takes Glacial Augment. If he's going down bot, which he may be, seeing that he's been played by Hippobot, which was bot for last game. It'll be quite interesting to see if he decides to take Glacial Augment, because I don't think Grasp will be very handy. I don't think he'll be getting many trades, like 1v1 melee trades. I think he'll be mostly be trading with his abilities, as we'll be jumping into game in a second. You guys on the stream, you'll see a black screen for a little bit, but it should change over to the champions, to the not Champions League screen, sorry, the loading screen in a second.
There we are. Nothing too crazy that I can see here. Basically standard runes for all, but the Cho'Gath does go Glacial Augment.
Yep, and it seems like it's actually a Nah jungle and not a Pantheon jungle, which would be quite interesting. And yep, cool, my stream can see. Was just alt tapping to double check.
Yeah, that is crazy. The Nah and Bubba Boy, he's been loving these carry champions onto the graves, and carrying his team. I wonder if he can actually carry on this Nah, because if he actually can, the threats that this poses, being able to play these off-meta champions in the jungle and still carry, might mean the finals might pull out some of these weird bans.
Yeah, it'll be quite interesting to see, and it may just be a bait trying to get the opposition to ban something a bit wild, and then using that diversion to lock in something that's stronger. Now I'm just got in, so 2, 3, 4, 5,
Same.
the same, cool.
Oh, good.
And if I just throw our cameras on, sweet, and we are into the game.
We see there a Hippobot pulling out the World of Tanks. World of Tanks is being a staple of the UWAnime club since basically the year 2010. A lot of clubs playing that, so wanting to have some dabbing onto the enemy team with that trash talk here.
And actually changed the matchup quite a bit in top lane. Not Gnar up against Sun, because Gnar can bully Sion quite hard until he kind of goes into the whatchamacallit, until he goes into that not mega form, which then Sion can 1v1 and especially use his grasp with. However, seeing that it's a Pantheon, Pantheon will certainly do a lot of damage early game, but if Sion does effectively get a lot of armor early, Pantheon's very one note with his damage. He really only just does physical damage, except for his ultimate, I believe. It is the only thing that does magic damage. So if Pantheon goes lethality and Sion can outscale him with armor quite quickly, Pantheon will become quite a non-factor. As we can see, Xayah and Rakan enjoying themselves.
The Lovers duo just showing that synergy that I have with the same mastery as well, but they are having a skin mismatch here, so we can see if that's going to play out for them well or not in this game.
Yep, as you can see, the fairly standard start of both junglers starting on their red side. Not the red side, sorry, their bot side.
See Sion immediately going for that invade onto the Gnar. Gnar does clear slow. I haven't seen too many of those out in rank, so we can see what he does path to. It does go a little toad there, so nothing too shy, but Sion is taking away all his buffs. That is warded, so he does know that is there.
Yep. So this is a strat with Sion. You can get yourself killed by raptors by taking out 1 or 2 small raptors in the process. And then you just die, and then the second that your passive ends, you'll immediately respawn, and then you just teleport to lane with another item, which he'll be picking up a control ward. And he'll be in lane with red buff, and he's denied the Gnar a red buff, which is very, very strong against Gnar, because he really needs that continuous burn and that continuous health regen to stay alive in the jungle. So as you see, he's actually had to recall after his first camp.
Yep, and he's immediately attacking down Pantheon here in the top lane and the bot lane. Also some action there, but Xayah not being able to get roots down there and nothing doing for both sides. But I really love this play by Tyler2. Something different, you know, invading with the Sion, taking the buffs away from the Gnar. They might just pull out a win here with these types of strategies.
And I think seeing that Gnar is actually level 1, but has killed blue, I think he didn't actually have his jungle item at the start, because you only get level 2 off blue, or like any camp, your first camp, if you have a jungle item. So I don't think he actually bought a jungle item when he started. I didn't actually notice though.
I think he bought Doran's blade and had to go back and sold it and immediately bought Hunter's machete. So a bit of a mistake there, not too used to that Gnar jungle.
Obviously just going off the recommended and kind of didn't realize that he wasn't buying the correct items.
See here a gank in the mid lane, nothing too much. Laser Cake just stuns him away and nothing doing there. But in the bot lane again, the Xayah does come in, does pick up the root, and the first blood does go to the Rakan. Pushing that 2v2 lane pressure and the mastery comes out.
Yeah, and Cho'Gath Norlis will find it quite hard early to fight against these two, just with the range difference, and especially with Rakan's Guardian, allows them to have quite a lot of mobility when they trade back and forth. Cho'Gath and Norlis will have to just respect the fact that they've got that lane pressure, let it push into them, and just try to pick up scraps and slowly start to level up and see if they can prep their lane for a really strong gank from Warwick, because Warwick can gank them really, really strongly, especially if Norlis can get his CC down. So up on the top lane.
In the top lane, they are fighting, and Pantheon almost gets the kill, and he does, and Sion does. Can he get the counter? Yes, he can.
And so Pantheon had flash as well, so I don't think he was expecting that hit to do that much damage. I think he was expecting to only have to dodge one. Sorry, had to take one auto attack and then have to flash, but he got killed after one auto attack. Because Sion's ability that he can pop while he's dead that gives him movement speed also gives him attack damage as well. So I think it just did a little more than what he expected it to.
Yeah, so we just have trades up in the top lane. The jungle is favoring Warwick due to the Gnar slow. But we do see in the bot lane action again, the 2v2 as Rakan does get stunned, but does get out of there as Xayah continuing the damage out as they might get the root here on the Nautilus, but don't. But huge amounts of damage from this 2v2 lane, and this Xayah is really pressuring them as Warwick is going towards bot side.
As I just checked, Xayah has actually gone coup de grace, so it'll be interesting to see if she's able to scale. As actually Warwick is looking for a gank here. He might be... Okay.
Is spotted on a ward as Rakan just letting him know, I do see you, Warwick. As in the top lane, Pantheon jumps in again, and I wonder if they're just going to continuously fight in the top lane, punch for punch, as they are fighting. The minions just fighting along there, as Pantheon does win that trade in the end.
Yep, and he'll certainly start to continuously win those trades. Seeing that Sion's trying to go for Tiamat first, his defenses won't outscale the Pantheon's damage at first, but it depends on what he decides to build, and if he will eventually outscale, if he decides to go more damage orientated, and then he really has to win those scrappy trades.
Yep, and we do see Nara is in the top jungle, does spot out the Warwick, but nothing doing, just decides to back out. As we see in the mid lane, this poke coming in from Laser Cake is really doing business. Level 6 now against this Cal level 5, already poked down to 50% HP. It's really doing a lot of work here in the mid lane.
It is, and as more scrappy trades in the bot, Cho'Gath is starting to hit those Qs every now and then, and the damage will eventually start to rack up as he will start going towards an ability power item first with his Super Soak. I kind of remember what the actual name of the ability, what the item is, but it's just nicknamed as Walk looking for a gank in mid.
He is just moving up there, but Zerath does laser as the counter jungle does come in. Nothing doing as Nara just lets him know that he is here to support his mid lane.
And it's helping him break the freeze actually. If I just check Nah, he's just about to level 4 off probably one camp, and Warwick is just a little bit through 4. So both junglers a little underleveled. Nah from, being denied all that early jungle experience from not buying the correct item at the start, and then Warwick from not being able to get that gank off in bot, not being able to take any minions, really put him behind in a bit of the experience wise.
And we do see here something happening in the bot lane as Nai is making his way down. As we see the Pantheon ult, and they do get the stun on Cho. Cho not having a flash up as they do pick him up. And let's see if they can pick up the Nautilus, but I'm not sure they'll be able to chase him on the turret. Decide to let him pass. It's a 4-man gank with Pantheon coming down the bot lane.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons why Pantheon is banned quite a bit in pro play, if you see, just because of his ability to just roam and keep pressure all around the map and just not let the enemy just breathe ever, because he just will have the ultimate up quite often. He has the E ability to keep himself invulnerable, so he can do things like risky tower dives. He stacks Conqueror very quickly. So yeah, he's a very, very strong, almost overtuned champion.
Warwick is overstaying as they do get the hit onto Xayah. Xayah burning with the Ignites. Rakan tries to save in the back end, but does get picked up as well. And we do have a Kel and Nautilus, but Zerath does come in, hits on the Worm, and does get the Divine Judgment onto the Nautilus, so he does survive as the Nah does. Can he do Mega Nah? Yes, he can. But we just have scrappy fights here as Cho'Gath does come in, does pick up the kill onto Bob D. Blue.
And that was a fight that I didn't expect Tyler2 to win, but it really seems like they ended up just going out and winning that fight really well. Warwick getting a very key fear onto that Xayah. The really good CC follow-up from the rest of the team. Cho'Gath coming in a little bit later to just clean up all the rest of the stuff. And at the end of the day, just a very well done team fight by Tyler2 in a behind position where the enemy AD carry has a BF sword and you're still able to pick her out quite easily with a very nicely laid CC.
Yeah, and as we were saying in Champ Selects, if this Xayah does get picked off, and they just don't have enough damage to get through these tanks, and as they scale up more and more, this Zerath is just going to be in the backline, unable to do anything.
Yeah, that's it. As we can see, most of the lanes are normalizing now. It's slowly pushing into Minecrafter's bot lane. They've decided not to freeze, but just to try to push it back. Warwick is looking. He's just sweeping out, but I think he's just trying to get some vision control. He's sitting on a blue smite now, so he's got an even stronger. He's able to run down people with his E combo a lot, E and then flip behind them with Q combo a lot better because he can slow them with the smite. But it seems like the game's just slowing down a little bit. Minecrafters have kind of realized that they can't just run face first into hard CC over and over again because they will lose those kind of fights. So they're sitting in their lanes, keeping with their isolated matchups and see if they can keep getting leads with those.
Yep, that's it. As we see with the CS differential, Zerath with slightly less CS, but 10 differential there, and the top lane 10 CS differential as well. So the only real change there, as we see in the mid lane, the Cal does try to go in, but Zerath easily gets out of there and does poke him back down for his trouble. As we see in the bot lane, Rakan does go in straight into the Cho'Gath. Xayah Root does get him, but not enough damage to kill him. Yes, she does, as they do try to go immediately back onto the Nautilus, so they do have enough to buff Cho'Gath still, as the Nautilus does hook her, as they do pick up the Ignite, but they won't dive, will they? With the beautiful ult from the Xayah, Featherstorm picking up that kill onto the Nautilus. Masteries come out.
And spamming the Masteries, I like it. And that was just very well done, abusing the fact that Cho'Gath had not hit 6 yet. Very hard for him to have kill pressure on those two without 6. Just layering the CC correctly, getting on before Cho'Gath can silence them, and that's just basically how it's gone. Now I've noticed that Sion has actually gone lethality this game. I noticed when I watched the trade that happened when Sion ulted to lane, and I was quite surprised that Sion's Q did about a third of Pantheon's health bar. So it's interesting. I'm very, very interested to see if he can get stuff off with it, because a full lethality Sion can really, really hurt. But at the same time, he can also die very, very quickly.
Definitely, and I think he's gone that build item just knowing that his team is pretty tanky down in the bot lane, so not necessary for him to go full tank this game.
Yep.
Trying to get a bit of that damage going out in the top.
And he automatically stacks up health anyway through his W, so it'll be interesting to see if he decides to go any defensive items or if he just wants to go at full damage. As Nara is looking at top lane.
We do, as he is coming in. Let's see if Pantheon does get the stun here. Hits him with the shield vault, and immediately Na does come in. Let's see if they do pull out the dive, but the flash does come in from the Scion, as he does get out of there quite easily.
He does, and it costs him his flash, but Sion can recover from those sort of things. The Na only just not having enough rage was a bit sad. If he had that level 6, it would have been a definite kill no matter what, but he just needed a couple more attacks to get that rage up, so he could just slam him with his ultimate. It looks like
As
they're
we
just going
see
to pressure
in
Rift Herald now. Oh, in
the
bot
bot
lane.
lane is taking Rift Herald, but the Nautilus does go in. Rakan immediately gets onto the Trogath, and this is feathers from the Zayat is doing too much damage in this 2v2 as they're chasing down Ruin and Gob. No flash, have to walk to the turret. Like, can see they do get the kill with the double on the Zaya. And this 4-1 Zaya with this 40 CS lead is really going to start becoming a problem. As we see here in the top, more fights again as the Scion does ult immediately onto the Zaraz. That Q comes in, the barrier does stop most of the damage, but Warwick does pick that up as now they do chase down the Pantheon. As he does get a double pick up on the Warwick.
Damn,
Showing,
that
though,
was...
that he does deal damage.
Yep, he sure does. That empowered Q does a lot of damage. A very well done there. And as you can see, bot's taking even more gold down in the bot lane, so Zaya's just going to get more and more ahead and can just turn around and take 60% of Cho'Gath's health just like that. So it's quite hard for them to trade back in. It would very much require a big mistake from the bot lane of Minecrafters to be able to die there. So you can see the dragon is up now, so it'll be interesting to see if they use that pressure to try to pressure onto the dragon and see if they can force.
Timing there by the bot lane as Ward's coming in from this Warwick, sweeping that dragon, as it is a Ocean Drake. Coming up here as Nara is trying to secure vision around that pit as well.
It looks like Nara's just keeping vision. Kale's keeping the mid lane push. They've got mid lane priority for the dragon, and they're trying to push out bot lane. So it may end up just being a scrappy 4v4 or a 5v5 in the river if red team can't correct their waves that quickly.
And this Arath poke might be the thing that is be on NL, as Warwick might get caught by this teleport coming down and immediately gets stunned by the shield bolt again from the Pantheon, but Nautilus does come in and immediately tries to pick up the Gnar, but he easily gets away as the Feather Swarm's coming into the background as the Zaya picks it up quite easily with that deadly plumage damage, already 5-1.
Yeah, and Warwick should have just respected the fact that there was a TP coming in and he couldn't walk out quick enough and should have just flashed over the wall. Unfortunately, he thought maybe he could have tried to get out and got CC to death and died before he could get out. And unfortunately, there was some CC missed or the CC change that was kind of onto multiple people instead of just one person at a time. So they weren't able to lock down anyone else.
Yeah, but we do see the trade by the Scion in the top is getting that first turret gold here, but we do see plates come through in the bot lane to trade with that, as the Gnar does miss out his ultimate towards Ethan Gatry. He has to use his Divine Judgment in order to avoid the Zerath gold, but Gnar is pushing in with his Q, misses and doesn't get the damage there, as ITT does try to make something happen there. But
yeah, and he opts not to use his ultimate when he's underneath the tower, but he may use his ultimate here while he's helping out his teammate.
Here, Scion does come in with the Q as he has to flash that. Warwick would have died there as Lasercake and Gnar is both trying to get out. Warwick misses his ult onto Lasercake. Can he still get the kill? Yes, they can, as Gnar is in the pit with Rift Herald. Used his E just then, so he can't jump over the wall just yet, as Pantheon is looking over, but nothing doing.
And there comes that CC drain that we were talking about. Yeah, it was. I think the Warwick ult was just a zoning ultimate to make sure he couldn't walk that way. I think he was just trying to route his path, as we see. Kale being quite
the South does come in with the Rakan and immediately stun locks him out as he does pick up the kill. Giving one over just in too deep there as Pantheon does ult in and they might just pick up 3 kills here as he gets
turn about him immediately, but they're just trying to run away. Which they may actually be able to get out.
Run does pick up the plant, which does get him out as the flash comes in with the Zaya. Let's see if they dive. Zaya is going in with the deadly plumage, does get the kill, Featherstorm immediately, and they do pick up the 2 kills, and Pantheon blocks the turret quite easily. Warwick comes in through huge amounts of damage from this Zaya, 7-1. It is really showing the win in the bot lane into this damage output in these small team fights.
Yeah, she's just so far ahead of the rest of the team, and that's just her without even spending. She's sitting on 2.3k right now. There's such a gold lead down in the bot lane there. Xayah is so ahead of Cho'Gath. And this lead will just continue more and more. She'll just be able to catch more and more waves of farm. She'll be able to keep pressuring these team fights with Rakan's backup. It'll be very interesting to see if they can ever get a CC train onto her, if she just buys a QSS eventually with her gold lead, and then they can just never kill her.
Yeah, that's right, and you just hate to see it, but Tyler2 really needed in that 2v2 to stop the Xayah scaling, because Xayah, one of the best crit scaling ADCs in the game, and right now with 7 kills, I'm not sure that we're going to be able to stabilize in this mid game, but we're going to see what happens in this Dragon. It is Inferno Drake spawning in 2 minutes.
Yeah, and the recent nerfs to her that pushed her a little bit out of his not being as meta as she was were nerfs to her early game, trying to keep her quite weak in that early game. So seeing that she's accelerated well past that early game and has now gone quite hard, is now almost actually getting the kill there.
Do you see so much poke damage coming in from Xerath as he does ult there, see if he can pick it up, but nothing doing as Asian Blade showing us that he can dance.
Yes, he and Xerath scratching his head there with the spam, with the dance spam emote. But yeah, and because of their long range with the Xerath now, they can really pressure in with these more short range picks, and Tyler2 just cannot pressure into it, because if they do, they just keep getting smacked over and over again in the face with this Xerath. So they can just keep brute forcing all this pressure that they have. They just got to make sure not to step too far forward, which may be what's happening here.
Yeah, but the Silent does immediately ult in, but there's a lot of damage coming out, so Rakan does go in to try to save the day. Nari's a bit too late on the part. There's a huge knock up there, but maybe not enough damage here, as everyone is super low in this team fight. But Kayle does come in to clean it up, as Nar is trying to kite for his life. Does pick up a double kill here, as Nautilus is trying to chase him. Does pick up the hook, as they do pick up the kill.
And here comes Xayah.
Xayah trying to 2v1 here. It does pick that up, and the damage from Rocky Rock is too much for the team.
And Warwick was about less than half a second away from being able to reactivate that fear, and if that fear reactivated, she may have actually died there. I don't think, because it doesn't seem like she was going to press ultimate. If that fear reactivated, she may have actually died, because Warwick gets a lot of attack speed the lower health you are, and then Kayle can also just burn you down quite quickly. So it was very, very close that she was able to kill Warwick just before that fear was able to go off.
Yeah, it didn't work out too well for Tyler2, but I really love that they picked them off there. Xayah was not in position, having to come all the way there from the bot lane to clean up that fight. So they get more of these, and maybe they work out a bit more better. They might be able to claw their way back into this game.
Yeah, it shows they're fairly decent team comp. If they can get these fights without Xayah, they can actually run down that team comp. So I can get a good ultimate if Cho'Gath can layer a CC correctly, if Nautilus can get that CC correctly, they really can obliterate the rest of the team. Their main problem now is Xayah, especially with their disengage.
Again, is coming in as a fight breaks out over this Inferno Drake, as Rakan immediately does dash in with the grand entrance, but here we go, lots of damage from the Xayah in the backline. No one can get to her, as she is just shredding through these tanks, even here just by the Silent does come in.
Silent's Q just got cancelled.
Triple kill for Xayah. Is that a quadra? No, it isn't, as Pantheon does pick up that kill, and they do clean it up in the back end.
And yeah, that was the game of inches. There's Silent got CC just half a second before he could reactivate his Q that would kill Xayah. Cho'Gath unfortunately was not able to get down enough auto attacks to make his ultimate insta-killer. So there's a lot of stuff expended onto her, and if they killed her, it would have very much paid off, but unfortunately it didn't, and because they can't kill Xayah, their entire team just dies.
Yeah, and you're seeing in these team fights, you know, if just 1 or 2 more ability CCs here, if they had just a tiny bit more damage onto this tank lineup from the Tyler2 team, they can start shredding the enemy, and the Xayah might actually go down. But we're seeing in the game of inches, you know, if you've lost that early to mid game, this Xayah is just impossible to kill with so many abilities, just making that she can CC the enemy in these close quarters.
Yep, and I've only just noticed that they actually have their club tags for their teams, so we've actually got a hook in the mid lane.
We do, is they're once again trying, but Mega Gnar easily gets out of there with the Gnar exclamation mark as the Pantheon does ult in. Trying to see if they have any picks. The Wrath might be able to pick up, has to use Divine Judgment to save himself, but does get picked up anyway, does tick past that CD.
Very nice sniping. I only just realized that their club tags are actually their team names. I only just realized. I was so focused on the games and the picks, I didn't even notice that they had their team names next to their names, which is pretty nice.
That synergy there for both teams.
My stream did freeze for about half a second. I'm currently on 20:06, 7, 8.
Let me pause for 1 second.
Sweet.
11, 12.
Yep, cool.
As we see here, just sieging in the mid lane. No need for Baron buff. They're just sieging in. Zaya is able to wave clear. As Nah does go in with the Nah. Immediately gets stuns on two of them, but Rakan can't go in with the Grand Entrance. But too much damage coming down from the side of Dabbers. And Sion is just in the bot lane trying to get CS. They're pushing in though, but they can't actually get the kill onto the Nautilus. Yes, they can.
Never mind, they do. It was a very nice throw. And
with the common spear.
Yeah, unfortunately Sion, which is a lot of their main damage currently, was split pushing top, which if I was tank Sion and my team had a little bit more map pressure, was probably a smart idea, but now that he has to run in
immediately with the a lot of damage being tanked here as Cal in the backline getting killed by the Gnar, and he is getting killed by the Laser Cake and the Zaya. The ace does come through. We're gonna see if they take anything more on the side of the Dabbers here.
I don't think they can just go and end. I think probably their best bet is to reset with all the gold that they have, because they currently, most of them are sitting on about 2k. If they reset...
But the Nautilus does hit the dredge line onto the Gnar, the Zai just dealing damage onto the North, and he can't do anything. It's just spells for death when he hooks that in.
And they may actually be able to, with the Sion dead, they may try to end, but I still think the best thing to do is to reset, spend the current gold lead that they have, and then rotate to Baron with that gold lead plus the control wards and the controlling all the vision in that jungle, which it seems like they're trying to do right now.
Definitely, and at 22 minutes with a 13k gold lead, it's almost all over with the Dabbers, with Inferno spawning in 2 minutes. They are going to pick up that Inferno Soul if they choose to wait that long, but maybe a rotate onto the Baron and a simple pickup in either the top or the bot lane might spell the end of this game.
Yep, I think that now would probably do best just to see if he can push... Okay, no, he's just going to back off there. When you're trying to go for Baron, normally it's best to try to keep top lane as well as mid lane pushed as hard as you can, just to force the enemy to try to collect the waves as well, just to slow them down for any rotation. But in all honesty, Minecrafters are so ahead in this game that they can really just only have mid lane kind of push with their supers, and then just use that map pressure to just pressure Baron. But it looks like they're just going to stick mid for the moment.
Yep, the ARAM strategy is coming in to fruition, an OCE special as they are pushing down the mid, hoping to catch anyone that tried to move up to farm, but nothing doing. They're just following the supers in and not actually going for Baron. They do just want to go for the kills.
Yeah, and I mean, that's just been the way of this game. It's been, what, nearly 50 kills, 49 kills, and it's a 22-minute game, so it's been quite bloody. But there's been quite a couple of return kills from Tyler2. It's not just been a complete one-sided bloodbath. I mean, it's about 95% one-sided, but you know, there is still that 5% that's been that decent comeback, and those CC trained team fights. It'll be interesting to see what they can do here, seeing that they're not positioning around the Baron, but they are standing on vision.
They do have vision, and immediately comes in with the stun onto the wall. They can't even get the single ability off as they pick up the Nautilus as well, and Sion can do nothing. But he does pick up a huge ult on the four of them, but again, his team isn't there. As Rakan does go on the backline, and he's soloing Kippo bot and Ethan Gatcher there. Yep, just the Rad and the Pantheon does come in immediately. Shield stun into the Ethan Gatcher and does pick that up. And this basically will be the end of the game as we go into the second round of the tiebreakers.
Yep, and as you can see, just with this super plus the next super, they can pretty easily end the game. This super should be able to leave. They're pinging the fact that Dragon spawning, seeing if they might want to try to go for a Dragon Soul, but I think Cho'Gath was just trying to look to see if he could get a cheeky nom. Wasn't able to get enough damage out in time.
Yeah, Tyler2 does want to get a few more pickup kills, but they're easily picked off by this team. Too far ahead here, as Rocky Rocks is legendary here, out at 24 minutes.
Yeah, just make sure that they pad their KDAs, and it seems like that will be the end of the game.
So was expected coming in with the first seed and the last seed for that first game that was just going to be a bit of a bloodbath and potentially something crazy happening, but nothing too crazy. It did go as expected, but Tyler2, okay showing during the tournament. I feel like there was a bit of an inkling of something there in all games, but just a smaller improvements towards that early game. Things might have gone a bit more differently.
And if you look at the damage graph here, you can see that Sion in those turnaround team fights, about two or three of them, I can't remember if it was 2 or 3, but in the 2 or 3 turnaround team fights, you can definitely see that Sion did work with his big multi-man Qs and his big multi-man ultimates. But as you can just see that the damage of the Zaya, the Pantheon, the Zerath just far outscaled them, and it just made it so hard to be able to catch up against them.
Yeah, that's it, as expected. As I think we might take a short break before we go into our pre-match of match 2, which is probably going to be one of the most exciting games in the tournament.
Yep.
With Triumph versus Titanic, both teams 1-on-1, and the winner going to the finals against the Epic Minecraft Dabbers.
Yep, definitely. I might just jump over and have a quick interview with the other teams, and then I'll come back and we'll have a quick break, and then we'll jump into the next game.
Too easy.
Only had that's just two. Hey, Samson.
Hello. Let me just, does this overlay line up? It does not line up correctly. I did
Doesn't
not
matter.
test this previously. However,
Well-
how do you feel about the game, boys? How do you think it went?
Well,
The
Samson,
best!
if you saw what happened at the beginning, you understood how much more fun we had that game.
Oh yeah, I can imagine.
Apparently running it down makes it a lot better.
It seemed to be a very, very fun game. I quite
you enjoy
liked the draft. Just the world of tanks was very fun to watch, especially when you guys got more ahead. It was very fun just to see you guys try to run the enemy down.
Well,
If
we're
I just
discussing
adjust
about-
this, there
We're
we go.
discussing about how Razi should pick Mordekaiser as he was practicing it like throughout the week.
Yeah.
And it would be a much better pick into Zyra Khan as it separates the two of them.
Yeah, it
Samson.
does.
I just played Nautilus. This is the second time I played Nautilus.
You're an amazing Nautilus. You were amazing. I loved it.
Oh, yeah,
Here's the thing, right? If you build a tank, it's not
Oh!
You should have seen. We had a game just now where fucking was just. I gave him. He took Nautilus and he was just like, okay, Jason, I need you to hook that person. Okay, got it. Yeah.
Fuck.
Nautilus isn't the most difficult champion to play. I'm sure it's not too bad that you haven't played Nautilus too much.
Samson, did you
I
enjoy?
wonder why there's a certain person who one-tricks it. I can still feel the anchor about 2/3 up my intestines.
I have one thing to ask, and only one thing to ask. Did you enjoy the level 1 red steel?
Yes, I did. It was very cool. I very much did enjoy it. I then enjoyed the fact that you then lost the 1v1 afterwards, but the red steel was quite nice.
Hey, I won the 1v1
That-
after the.
You won the 1v1 after you died. Yeah, that's the main part. It's the mind
That's the
games.
main part.
It's the mind games
It's
that
like,
matter.
I can't get red buff. He can't get red buff.
Exactly. Going down with the ship.
I can't have it. No one else can.
But yeah, definitely a much better game this round compared to like
Yeah.
the past 2 rounds that we've had.
Yeah, there were a couple good team fights where you just realised that Zaya wasn't near the enemy team and just all dogpiled, and the CC train
we
was
were
very
just all
difficult.
dogpiling anyway.
We're the Chinese player. We never left one behind.
This is just straight LPL.
Yeah,
today,
that
one
did
person
seem
goes
like
in,
an
one person
LPL
goes in.
game. That was a 25-minute game with nearly 60 kills. Nearly?
Yep. That's
Um,
like 3 kills a minute.
How was it?
yeah, nearly
How
60
did that
kills.
happen?
57. How did that happen? You guys ran into Zaya a lot of times. That's how it happened.
I didn't know they
They
were
decided to
wrong.
just go,
Jesus
oh, let's just
Christ.
put Uzi into the team.
Anyway, very well done. Thank you for joining in. Unfortunately, you won't be going into the finals. I'm very surprised. I
that's
thought you
alright.
guys were
No,
top
that's fine.
contestants,
That's
but
right. We made the friends along the
yes,
way.
yes. Just what really mattered was how hard you flamed your teammates along the way. That's the most important part
Now
about
hit
it.
you all, guys.
Yeah, it's like why they actually banned Lux. I wonder who plays Lux on this team.
Oh yeah, true. Because you subbed out Gradius. Yeah, true.
Yeah.
They banned Lux. I was like, what the fuck?
Free ban, free ban. So what you're telling me is you guys had an advantage and still lost. Reported, all of you.
Why
Oh,
how did you
that's
assume
kinda
that this team
depressing.
had the advantage? Why is your immediate assumption that this team had the advantage?
Samson, look at the level, Samson. Look at those guys. They've been playing since they were born. Jesus
Anyway,
Christ.
thank you for the
This
interview.
ain't-
Thank
this
you
ain't
for
a
the
game
interview.
balance. What the hell, man?
Thank you for the interview. Thank you for playing, guys. And I hope if we run another one, I hope to see you in the next tournament.
Oh, you'll see me, definitely.
Oh,
We'll
you'll see it.
definitely be there. Unless I
Before
got
that,
corona.
Insert shameless TFT plug.
Oh no, yeah. Good luck getting a
Is that
TFT
TFT
tournament run.
It's
Alright.
like
But to the other team now.
Alright,
Just
you
move on
guys
to
have
the
fun.
other
World of Warships.
Hello.
team.
Hello, boys. How are we?
We're pretty
Aye,
good,
aye.
pretty good.
We're great.
That's good.
Very
So,
good.
how do you feel about going through the group stage and not losing a single game?
Pretty good. Especially since our jungler started Doran's play. Pretty hot.
I did notice that. I didn't notice the item choice straight away until I saw that he backed after doing blue and was still level 1, and then it clicked for me.
You know,
Yeah, that's the new strat.
Oh, I
like
see.
that strat. We're, li- we're a little bit annoyed that we picked Zyra this early. We didn't think it would be this much
Oh,
of a
I,
storm
I
in
see.
lane.
You're showing your strength. Yeah, there was a points where there were picks in the draft that could go and just destroy Zyrakan's engage. Unfortunately for Tyler 2, they banned the strongest one, which is the Veigar mid lane pick. They banned it against themselves, unfortunately. But yeah,
It's a good
it
thing I
was.
took it out though. I am quite practiced on Vega. I think I racked up like 1 game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
His Veigar plays. He was hitting like at least 10 stacks. It was amazing.
In
Wait,
about
10
20
10
minutes. Yeah,
That's amazing.
sounds about
Awesome.
me on Rengar as actually.
And he has 100% hit rate on his ult as well.
very skilled player. So how do you feel about? So
yeah.
we've got the tiebreaker coming up next game. So whoever wins that will actually be going on to face you in the finals. We're going to do a best of 3. I know I said best of 5 near the start, but then looking at how long best of 5s takes, I've gone.
Yeah.
Now let's just do a best of 3. So who do you think will win the next game, and how confident do you think you are into facing who you think will win?
Yeah, easy.
Okay. Well, cheers for the game, guys. I wish you luck in the finals. And
Thank you, Sams.
yes.
Sorry, if there's just one thing I can ask, can we get a flex on the stream from you, person?
I should not have worn this shirt. The gym is
Tyler won.
the gym is I'm not balding like Tyler. I've actually got a lot of hair. I haven't got All right, fine. I'll preface this with the fact that the gym's been closed. But this
For how
is
long?
this is
Unbelievable.
for too long. This is the flex. We got the back muscles there. Are you happy now?
Oh, sweet.
Gotta wait
I-
for the
I-
time so we can
Banned.
see it.
I
You were
I
banned.
expect
Oh.
50 members on my OnlyFans by the end of today.
Yeah.
You can count me
Darn.
on.
Alright.
How
I'll be
much
the
is
first.
Send the link.
All right, cheers for the game, boys. I hope you enjoyed yourself.
Bye.
Thank
We
you.
had
Oh,
fun.
actually,
We did. Thank you.
We made friends too.
I hate my friends.
I hate all of you.
I hope they die in a fire.
same. All right, thanks for the
First time
game,
we played
guys.
together.
We'll let you have your conversation.
All right. Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye bye.
I miss you.
So don't mind the fact the stream. I just got a little notification. I actually did not see. Let me just see. Someone just sent me something. I'll jump to a break in a second. Let me just. I heard the little notification for, I think it was a donation, but I have not got the donation layout done just because I took it all off for this specific stream. So let me just double check what was said. Sorry, someone was hosting me. Okay, cool. Just double checking that it wasn't a message that someone wanted me to read out. Well, I was just double checking just because if it was a donation, I definitely want to read it out. So we'll just jump into a break while we wait for the next thing. I'll probably chuck the timer for about 10 minutes and we'll be back with the next game.